Hello and welcome to As Built, the podcast from Graphic Machine about architecture firms and buildings and how both get built. I am your co-host, Patience Jones. With me, as always, is
Brian Jones,
your other co-host. Thank you for joining us. Today we are doing another in our Tech Stack series, and we're talking about AI policies. I feel like AI should be said in like a Darth Vader sort of a voice, which I can't do. Even though I went to Michigan, I can't do it. No. This is not, here's the disclaimer, this is not legal advice. This is not a substitute for talking to a lawyer about AI issues, or if you have questions or having that person opine on your policy. This is just issue spotting, things to think about when you're thinking about how to create an AI policy. So the first question is, why do you need one?
And more importantly, encouraging you to craft an AI policy for your office.
Yes, in a non-legal advice sort of a way.
Yeah.
Yes, it's a policy. Think about, you probably have a policy for, who gets to use certain types of software or processes that you have in the office. This is no different. And that's why we're encouraging it, because it is a tool. Whether you use it and how you use it are things that can be covered by a policy to remove any confusion, misunderstandings by people, whether those people are your staff or your clients. And it can evolve as technologies evolve and your understanding of how you want to use it can evolve. And even if your stance is, we don't use AI for anything ever, that can also be a policy. And if you don't communicate that, people are not necessarily going to assume that that's your position, and you may have some unpleasant surprises.
Yep.
So how to think about what to think about.
I mean, you have to assume that this AI is going to be used in potentially the crafting of work within your office. And understanding that is key to deciding what you want it to be used for and what you don't want it to be used for.
So here's where my little antenna go up. Why does one have to assume that it's going to be used?
Because it's so pervasive, in culture right now. People are getting accustomed to using ChatGPT, among others, to find things. And so this is being used in some way inside your office. Maybe it is as innocuous as like searching for a restaurant nearby, but it could be, much more. It could be for substantive work as well.
That's fair. I definitely don't want anyone to think that this is, you must use AI and you must use it in the following ways. That's not it. But I think especially when you look generationally at how it's being used, AI is really, for a lot of people, they use ChatGPT the same way that they use Google.
Yep.
Or the same way that we use Google.
Yeah.
They will go to ChatGPT and look something up. And that something could be, what's the building code section for, this type of concern. Or it could be, create a rendering, or it could be, what time does this store close?
I mean, you raise kind of the first tier of considerations, which is the reality of hallucinations in AI results. And
are you saying I'm having a hallucination?
No. That when you're searching for specific information that is factual, so like you mentioned built-in code, there's other things within the profession that would fall in that category. Knowing that you may have to validate that as a entity, that you can't take the result for granted, is really critical to kind of understanding the larger sense of, what might be part of your policy or framework.
And I want to just break this down a little bit because it is such a new thing and things evolve. So at the time of this recording, it is really imperative that you are checking the results, that if you are using AI, that you're checking those results against something else, especially if you're relying on it for any kind of important anything. Many AI bots are currently coded and trained to be quote unquote helpful. And helpfulness is assumed to be providing you, the questioner, with an answer to the question that you seek. If the AI does not have an answer to the question, the thought process goes, well, going back to you and saying that I don't have an answer is not helpful, so I will make one up. And there was a test that somebody ran where they came up with a made-up concept that does not exist, has never existed. It's not even something mythical. It's completely brand new, made up. And they asked 4 different popular chatbots to explain this concept. And only one of the chatbots came back and said, I'm sorry, I don't know what you mean. I don't have any information about that. Can you give me some more details? The other 3 provided multiple paragraphs of quote unquote information about this, including made up history, made up people who made up this concept and different instances in history where it was used, all made up. Because in the programming, the ultimate goal is to be helpful. This is helpful. So depending on who's asking the bot, what information they already have, they may not immediately know if something's wrong.
Yeah.
So part of the policy probably needs to address in what circumstances do you need to validate and how do you validate. It probably shouldn't be by using another chatbot to validate. It probably needs to be something else.
It's one of these things where the convenience of it can be alluring and it is useful, but understanding where it is useful and how it can be useful inside your organization is, the reason to think about it.
I think that's a great place to start is, what is this tool for? Just because a tool exists doesn't mean it is useful for any situation or all situations. What is it that we want this thing to do? In what circumstances can somebody use this? Do they have to validate the answer? Do they have to disclose to a client that this is being done? Depending on what kind of projects you do and who your clients are, they may have internal rules, things related to their granting, things related to their fundraising, where they can't use any AI or incorporate it at all, or they have to disclose it. So that's important to know. If you would feel like, oh, the client's going to be mad if they found out that we used AI for this, then it probably behooves you to rethink using the AI. If it's something that you would be embarrassed if people knew you were doing, then the issue becomes not, should I tell people, but should I really even be doing this? And then things like, who has access to this tool? And do they understand how it's billed? Because a lot of the tools, once you get into a professional subscription, it's billed by number of queries, number of credits used. And it's important for people to know ahead of time, yes, you have permission to use this. You can use it, whether it's number of times or number of queries or number of hours a day, whatever.
I mean, I think, in the profession's desire to be green and carbon neutral in the coming years, this is also something to think about how this impacts that. Yes. And there's the actual build pieces that are produced, but there's the effort that goes into the building of those, and both count or should count towards that idea.
Yes. I mean, is it really super fun to run a bunch of prompts through AI to see can it generate 5 million renderings for you? Maybe, I don't know. But that is using up so much power and so much water. And that doesn't really align with the idea of, being sustainable or being green. And so you have to know how it works, and you have to know what you're doing.
Yeah.
And then make an informed choice about how to use it. And what follows from that is also the understanding of how it processes information. The free chat bots, when somebody just goes randomly to ChatGPT and types something in, all of that information, all of the prompt is being retained by the chatbot company, and it's being used to train that chatbot and all the chatbots. And that information becomes part of a pool that any other chatbot on that system can pull from to deliver an answer to somebody. So you have to be really careful when you're thinking about, okay, is this information confidential? Is this proprietary? If I put into a chatbot that I'm doing, a project for somebody, a house for somebody that has 2 children, and this is the address, well, have I now put confidential information into this larger system? What would you be comfortable with the whole world knowing?
I mean, I think the difference between when the web sort of began to be crawled by Google and now is that the act of publishing a web page sort of gave you the intrinsic clue that you were putting something public that was publicly accessible. And this has that kind of gray region where it isn't just the results that are public, it's also the information that you're inputting into the prompt that becomes part of the larger repository.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Exactly. And so if you're uploading, let's say you upload a set of designs because you want AI to do something with those designs, and you're not using a system that's closed, those designs also get dropped into the pool. And so when somebody else 6 months later says, hey, ChatGPT, generate for me a set of designs, yours may be what they use. And you just need to be aware of that.
Absolutely.
Well, we hope that this has been helpful. Again, we encourage you to just learn about AI. Just learn about there's lots of great articles, and we'll put some of them in the show notes about how the different systems work, what they're looking at. And again, they change all the time. So
definitely something to revisit over time.
Yes. We hope you will revisit this podcast. We thank you for joining us. We will see you next time.